In the previous solo episode, we shared 7 ways that you can try things out quickly before picking your one thing. Treating life design like a scientist, quickly making little bets, testing things out, and seeing how likely you are to find passion or energy from different ideas that you have can go a really long way. Now, in today's episode, we'll take it one step further and finally boil down our options to the one thing that you are going to focus on, at least for now. We'll do an activity that gets us from multiple ideas down to one, and we'll look at the underlying philosophy as to why this is so valuable to our life story. And just in case you are really still stuck coming up with an idea for your goal, then in the next episode we'll review the dream blockers that could get in the way and share a bunch more ways to brainstorm ideas for your one thing. Alright, I think at this point it goes without saying, but it is almost impossible to focus truly only on one thing. Just to get this out of the way quickly, in many ways the idea of balance is a myth. We have many things in life that we need to focus on. Things like family, friends, self-care, work, and unfortunately at times, our health. This is where counterbalance is the true reality. At times, we will be so focused on parenting, for example, because our kiddo is homesick, and that's okay. It needs to be okay. We can drop the other stuff for a bit, focus just on that, because these things are the true foundational priorities of our life. And these foundational priorities, like I said, self-care, wellness, friends, family, they're not the goals that I would be referring to when talking about the idea of your one thing. As busy as we may be with those areas of life, at other times we'll have the chance to go head down, work our asses off, and be super focused on the one thing that is our greatest goal at any given moment. I just wanted to quickly point that out because I understand that there is more than one thing. Please do give yourself the time, grace, and space to be able to spend energy on all of those priorities. Because goal setting is an infinite game. The amazing thing is, we get to play this idea of choosing our one thing forever. So then, what do I mean when I refer to the idea of one thing? Every one of our lives tells a story. Whether we write the script or not, there will be a character arc, and every story has a beginning, middle, and an end, often simply referred to as the 3 acts. Now, this is true of our lives as a whole, but if we try to control that entire story, we fail. There's far too much way beyond our control. What we can control are some of the smaller stories that develop within the bigger narrative. I like to think of this as being the hero in our own journey on a mission. You are a hero on a specific mission, and to attack that mission, you could really use a map. If you've ever used an app like Google Maps to find a location or directions, then you know that sometimes we need to hit that refresh and recalibrate button. Well, deciding on our one thing at any given moment is a lot like hitting refresh on the map after we type in a new destination or toggle a different mode of transportation. The cool thing about using this example of maps is that so many modes of transportation exist. You could select walking, car, bus, train, boat, and even flight. Or your trip could include a combination of all of these things. That's kind of how I feel when it comes to planning our own big dream. Our one thing will in all likelihood combine different methods to make progress. We will have to pivot to a different mode of transportation, to a different route altogether, or both. But in the end, we'll get to the destination that is meant for us if we understand how to define that one thing. This is where things get super contextual and can be challenging to help everyone with at the same time, because if we were talking one-on-one, I would share insights or learn things about you that make the idea of your one thing a lot more specific. But over the years, I've been able to build a bit of a framework for explaining things to larger groups, so here it goes. It can change over time, but at any given moment, there is always one goal that is most intrinsically motivating for any of us. One thing beyond our foundational priorities in life that we would love to accomplish more than anything else in the world. It is usually tied to our purpose, our meaning, and our why. Now remember that meaning can come from 3 different sources: through achievement by setting goals and working towards them, through relationships by giving and receiving love, and through suffering by transcending challenges and emerging stronger. In the book titled The One Thing, the concept is defined by asking yourself, what's the one thing you can do such that by doing it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary? It's helpful and relieves stress to realize that our one thing exists along a continuum. We're going to pick one thing to focus on today, but I have one last thing to add before we go about picking that. When you go to focus on your one thing, you need to bear in mind this one thing could be a hobby that brings you incredible vitality. It might also be a full-time job, or it could be anywhere in between. The amount to which our one thing contributes to our financial life can change based on a combination of our money needs and our desires for the one thing. It exists along a continuum from a fully creative hobby with no strings attached to full-time career pursuit. You might want to put out a book, music, or poetry that sells the most in the world, or you might be simply comfortable sharing your art, knowing that it may or may not connect with people, but if it does, that's amazing. And this continuum can shift and evolve over time, but some things do not change. The one thing is based on our values and purpose. There is a single, clearly defined mission to go on. We can work on it, at least in a small amount, every single day. And sharing the journey would inspire others. So now let's get it. After all the work we've done to build a foundation and come up with a bunch of ideas, how do you finally pick that one thing? We're going to look at doing this in 3 quick steps. 1. Take all of the ideas you have about interests, passions, and strengths and come up with a list of 1 to 20 ideas. If you really already know what you want to do, then congrats, you have 1. And that's incredible. But if you don't, then think of up to 20 missions you could go on to achieve a life goal and list them all out. 2. Now give each of the ideas a score from 0 to 100 by asking the question, how excited and appreciative would you be if this goal came true? Just a quick side note, to rank each idea, be sure to turn your thinking brain off. Ignore your inner critic, don't worry about what others might think, don't second guess the ideas, don't reflect on how original it is or the likelihood of success, and don't even worry about whether or not you would do it as a job, hobby, vocation, or career. Simply ask this question, how excited and appreciative would you be if this goal came true? Go with your heart and gut and see what the answer is. The third and final step is to take a look at the top 3 scores plus ties, and now that you have a top 3, simply pick one of them to be your one thing. Just pick. If you can't for some reason, put the names in a hat or a random generator and go with the answer. We'll talk more about it later, but this does not mean that you'll never do the other things. Take the pressure off by recognizing that what it means is we're going to give this a fair chance to see if it's something that we truly want to pursue. Now, if somehow you're still struggling to come up with ideas, then in the next episode, we're going to do a couple things. We're going to review the dream blockers that could be getting in the way, figure out what to do about them, and share a bunch of new prompts that can help you brainstorm ideas if you truly are stuck. JKL community, thank you so much for listening. It means the world whether you're here to tackle solo episodes like this and pursue your own big dreams, or you're checking out the interviews, or both. And it really means a lot when you pass these episodes on to others that you know could use help with vulnerability, growth mindset, and goal setting. Until the next episode, all the best, and remember, just keep learning.